Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and I gotta tell you right off the bat, what is unfolding right now is vindication to the highest degree for XRP holders that have been around for over a decade. Even before I was here, I've been here since 2017 in the community. It really, truly is vindication. And look at this headline from CoinDesk. Tokenization is going to eat the entire financial system, says Robinhood CEO. Now, I'm not saying what I'm saying specifically because the Robinhood CEO is saying this, but he is correct. There are going to be multiple blockchains that are tokenizing real-world assets to the tune of tens of trillions, if not hundreds of trillions of dollars in the years to come. And I have to tell you, and I'm going to explain why in detail, XRP and the XRP ledger is going to get a piece of this. XRP is an early winner of the crypto space. It was designed for precisely this, and it excels at precisely this. And I want to break it down. It's just nice to see, after over a decade of the XRP community believing this and talking about this, even way back in the day it sounded crazy, it's now happening. This is now becoming mainstream. We were right. We absolutely are being vindicated in real time. XRP will be a huge piece of this, so yes, XRP and the XRP ledger will eat the entire financial system. And again, yes, it's true, there will be multiple blockchains that are going to get a piece, but pick a financial asset, pick a category, pick any category. Every single category will be represented on the XRP ledger. That's why I say that. Yeah, XRP, it's going to eat the entire financial system in that regard. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And of course, mainstream media is covering this. Here's the headline from CNBC. Tokenization of real-world assets is an unstoppable freight train coming to major markets. Robinhood CEO. And I got to tell you, like, even for those of you that were listening to me, I know it would have been a smaller crowd because my channel used to be absolutely tiny, but in late 2018 and early 2019, I was talking about this with a fair amount of frequency. And I was talking about how we'd increasingly be in a more liquid world where it's easier to get in and out of positions. Whether it's a stock, whether it's whether it's a commodity, whether it's a precious metal, real estate, fine art, whatever it is. And here we are all these years later, and it's happening right now. I always believed that it would. It's just really nice to see this. And this absolutely will ensure the long-term viability of XRP and the XRP ledger. And it's one of the things that I think is going to massively pump price because it means that there's real-world utility. So let me read just a little bit of this article to you. The tokenization of real-world assets, from stocks to real estate, will spread to financial markets around the world, according to Robinhood Markets Chief Executive Officer Vlad Tenev. Tokenization is like a freight train. It can't be stopped. And eventually, it's going to eat the entire financial system, Tenev told a panel at a crypto conference in Singapore on Wednesday. I think most major markets will have some framework in the next 5 years, he said, though he added that reaching 100% could take more than a decade. A tokenized asset is a digital representation of a real-world asset, like stocks, bonds, or commodities, that can be recorded and traded on a blockchain or distributed ledger. And so that's what we're talking about. A tokenized version of an actual financial asset. And in this case, we're talking about the representation on the XRP ledger, and XRP is required for every single one of those transactions. And for it to exist, because that's the way that it's coded. And so, the tokenization of real-world assets, frankly, it isn't a buzzword anymore. It's quickly becoming one of the most important transformations in global finance. And again, as I just shared with you, even Robinhood CEO just said it's like a freight train heading for the markets. Unstoppable. Inevitable. And he's right. We are moving to a world where nearly everything of value, let me reiterate this, nearly everything of value, stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities, you name it, fine art, all of it will exist in tokenized form on blockchains. So why does this matter for XRP? Well, it's because the XRP ledger was built for this moment. You see, Tokenization requires speed, scalability, low cost, and reliability. It needs a chain that institutions can actually trust. And that, my friends, that's where the XRP ledger shines. Okay? So let's step back. Let's take a little look here at how things work today in financial markets. Because right now, the ownership of stocks and bonds isn't tracked in real time by you and me. It's held through layers of custodians, brokers, clearinghouses. And settlement, actual settlement, takes days. You may have a transaction on your screen in real time, but settlement takes days. Transfers involve multiple middlemen. It's slow, it's expensive, it's outdated. Tokenization flips that on its head. Instead of relying on middlemen to confirm ownership, a blockchain acts as the single source of truth. Settlement is effectively instant. Transfers, they're global. Transparency is built in. Instead of needing to trust a multitude of people and centralized power structures, all you have to trust is that cryptography works. All you have to trust is that the XRP ledger is cryptographically secure, which it very obviously is. And you know what else? And this is the coolest damn thing, too, because I was talking just a couple minutes ago about how, even back in the earliest days of this channel, I was talking about how we're going to be in an increasingly liquid world. That means that it's super easy to get in and out of even fractional ownership. So, yeah, I mean, you can own a fraction of real estate, a fraction of fine art, but who wants to deal with it? Filling out the paperwork, dealing with the middlemen? But with this technology, it makes all of that a breeze. You can fractionalize assets so that someone who couldn't afford to buy a piece of real estate or a private equity fund suddenly can, because ownership can be divided down into smaller pieces. And when assets are tokenized, they become programmable. And in the case of XRP and the XRP ledger, I'm not talking about smart contracts here. When I say programmable, I mean it within the specific technical confines that the XRP ledger offers today, because frankly, you can do more than I think the average person realizes natively with the XRP ledger. You can embed certain rules, compliance checks, and even automatic payouts directly into the asset itself. Now, here's where XRP's advantages become very, very clear, okay? The XRP ledger, I talked about this before, but this, my God, it is so true in this case. Frankly, it's of critical importance in this case. The XRP ledger has been around for more than a decade. It's been tested in the real world, in real world environments, longer than just about any other chain in existence. And that time factor absolutely matters. You can't program battle-tested trust into a brand new blockchain. It's earned. It's earned over years of uptime. Years of handling transactions without breaking. Years of surviving stress tests and volatility. Institutions, looking to tokenize trillions of dollars of assets, they want to know that the foundation that they're building on won't collapse. The XRP ledger gives them exactly that assurance. That's something you cannot program into a new chain. You either have it because you've been around a long time or you don't, and the XRP ledger does. That is truly valuable. So for XRP holders, this definitely isn't just about pride. It's about long-term viability. Every new asset that gets tokenized on the XRP ledger strengthens its network effect. More assets means more utility. More utility means more demand for liquidity. And over time, price follows utility. That's how you build lasting value. Not through hype cycles, but through real-world adoption. I've been preaching this for years because I genuinely believe it. That's why at its core, my investment thesis in crypto has always been, and you could hear me saying this even back in 2018 and 2019, my investment thesis in crypto has always been that utility matters and will win the day. And remember, every single transaction of these tokenized assets, like I said, on the XRP ledger, it requires the usage of XRP. None of this happens without XRP itself. And, it's also important to point out, The XRP community has been ahead of this curve for over a decade. While most of the world dismissed blockchain as nothing more than a way to speculate on coins, XRP supporters were already talking about real-world settlement and cross-border payments, tokenized assets, you name it, institutional adoption, you know? We saw this freight train coming long before Robinhood or anyone else on Wall Street started talking about it. And now, the rest of the world, the rest of the financial world, no less, is finally catching up. They're finally catching up to what we knew was inevitable. How cool is that? We simply beat the crowd. And frankly, we'll be rewarded for that foresight and overall vision. We beat the crowd. We beat Wall Street. We beat the institutions. We win. And think about the scale of what's ahead. You know, estimates suggest hundreds of trillions of dollars in assets could eventually be tokenized. So even a small percentage of that flowing through the XRP ledger would be transformational. And unlike so many newer blockchains that promise the world but haven't proven themselves, XRP has something no one else can replicate. A decade of it just works. So when you see news like this, definitely don't brush it off. Definitely don't brush it off as like just another trend or another CEO making a prediction. This makes sense. This is grounded in reality. This is unfolding right now. And it's incredible for XRP and XRP holders. Understand that it is validation, though. It's definitely validation. It's confirmation that the vision XRP holders believed in from the start is finally becoming mainstream. The freight train is here, my friends, and XRP is on the tracks, ready to benefit from it. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.